All right, all right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Day. Oh, today's day. What's today? Isn't today day 4? I think I put day 3. Today's day 4, actually. Let me update the title real quick. How you guys doing? Good afternoon. Cassie Ventura being cross-examined, which I was really excited about this, and should be interesting. Let me just touch a little bit on just a mini cap on yesterday's updates. Okay, yeah, well, we covered yesterday with the trial. So yesterday they spoke more about the 2016 Los Angeles hotel attack, the CCTV. They made the full video available, the unedited version. She told jurors that P. Diddy threw a vase at her, was yelling at her. Also, afterwards, that Combs was texting her to call me now. The cops are here, that he was getting arrested, which wasn't true. So I guess this was like a type of manipulation, which I've dealt with that before. Like some type of like, this whole thing happened, right? And he dragged her, punched her through the hotel lobby, all this crazy scene. And then he's calling her, I need help, help me. Now he's the victim and you gotta come, right? Then they showed still images of the freak-offs yesterday to the jury and the judge and the attorneys. I guess they're the only ones that saw that. And she said that she partook in hundreds of freak-offs and that she didn't want to do it. That she was threatened to be blackmailed. And that one time on an airplane, on a commercial flight, he pulls out a video of a freak-off with her involved in it. So that was another thing that she mentioned yesterday. What else do we have? Got the photos. Oh, the Kid Cudi thing too. How can you forget the Kid Cudi? That Kid Cudi allegedly had his car blown up by Puff Daddy. How crazy is that? They had briefly dated or something like that, I guess, or some type of with Cassie and Kid Cudi. And he found, I guess, messages on his phone or something like that. And so allegedly he blew up the car, and Kid Cudi had like a meeting with him, and he's like, hey, like, what's up with the car? And Diddy's like, what car? You know, insane. And then something else, I guess, was the UTIs. That she had a lot of UTIs, stomach problems, that she said, one of the articles said she was taking Cipro, and that even that wasn't effective after a certain period of time. She had taken it so much, had so many UTIs, and she would tell P. Diddy, hoping that he would feel bad or something, but he felt nothing. He didn't really care. And also that she had a gash on her eyebrow, and he sent her to a plastic surgeon. So a hot mess. That was yesterday, the recap. All right, let's get to a little bit of today. Today's updates, today's trial. Okay, let me see, make sure we got this up and perfect. So let's start from this morning, the live tweets update. Today's the cross-examination. I'm super stoked, excited. So many words that I could say, but the cross-examination started this morning. Ventura's lawyer, Whitdore, said, I have a right to be part of the meet and confer about which evidence she can be questioned about. She is the only victim witness that has standing under Rule 412. So the judge says we have to move forward. Other issues, the judge says, Ms. Slavic. Prosecution said, as we noted in our email to the court early this morning, the judicial documents are not being put in the public docket. Judge says we might get to see a sign from Mr. Stavo, who will cross Cassie, that it's not an issue. The prosecution says the defense last night dumped 400 exhibits. Woo! Oh, wait, my soundboard's not working. Oh, no. Let me turn that on. 400. It's not turning on. See? Oh, you guys here, but it doesn't work for me? What the? Oh, here we go. Let's try it now. There we go. Okay, sorry. I have to be able to hear it too to get the full effect. You know what I mean? All right. So last night, prosecution says the defense dumped 400 exhibits. This cannot continue throughout the trial. Throughout the course of the trial, judge says Mrs. Estavo, Combs' lawyer, Ana Maria Estavo, says we have been working tirelessly in response to Ms. Ventura's testimony. Judge says that Mr. Agnifilo, I thought you were going to take his off my plate. Agnifilo says, I will keep trying. This is the main witness. She stands by herself. That said, we have been doing this all night until 3 a.m. We flagged exhibits for them. Prosecution says they are 24 exhibits that the government has objections to. They are listed in the chart. Judge says just the ones in the chart. Again, these are judicial documents that are not going to make it into the public docket. Not the case in many other SDNY trials. The judge says, bring the jury in. The jury enters, and Combs' lawyer, Estavo, Miss Ventura, says, you love Mr. Combs, right? She says, I did. I did love him. By the way, make sure you guys can hear me on the other platforms. Facebook You Alive, just checking. Twitch, making sure we're good before I get into the nitty gritty. Okay, let's see. Facebook, all right, we got something. I think, you guys hear me over there? Let's see real quick. Is it working properly? Let's see Twitter real quick. Okay, Twitter's working. Again, these are perfect. Okay, I don't know about Facebook. Facebook's like loading for me. Weird. Anyway, we'll keep moving on for now. So, yes, I did love him. Estavo says, the defense, for 11 years, you took care of him. Cassie says, in some ways. Estavo says, you called him larger than life. Cassie says, I did. Estavo says, others called him Diddy or Puff Daddy, but you called him Sean. Cassie says, yes. Estavo says, you knew a version of him the rest of the world couldn't see, right? Objection, says the prosecution. Judge says, overruled. Ventura says, in ways. Combs says, you kept coming back to him for 11 years. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. She says, I wouldn't say coming back. Estavo says, you believed he loved you too. Cassie says, I did believe he loved me too. Estavo says, so when he cheated on you, it hurt. Cassie says, not every time. That's kind of weird. Why not every time? Estavo says, bring up the defense's exhibit. Prosecution, objection. This is not into evidence. Judge says, that's true. This is not in evidence. Estavo says, Miss Ventura, just read it over yourself. Why did you send this message? Cassie says, to let him know I was going to dinner. Estavo says, what was going on when these messages were sent? Cassie says, I'm not sure. Estavo says, what was going on in your relationship then? Cassie says, it was early. We were loving. Estavo says, I offer it. Prosecution says, objection being offered for the truth overruled. Combs says, Estavo says, please read. Ventura. Cassie says, I wrote, I love you, smiley face, I'll fly anywhere for you, I love you. Cass. Estavo says, this is a 2009 email. Prosecution says, objection! Hearsay. Judge says, Mr. Estavo, ask more questions. Estavo, from BlackBerry, what is BG? Cassie says, baby girl. Let me turn this down a little bit. This is interesting, man. I can tell this is going to be spicy. She's probably going to be on the stand for a couple days. You guys in the chat, excuse me, if you could help me out with the like button, please. All right, share the stream out, like button. Let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. So, defense says, what did you write? Cassie says, you hungry, pop, pop. Defense says, and Mr. Combs wrote to you, we are so in love, we don't do anything else. How long had you been seeing each other's? She said 2.5 years. Defense says, please read 1364. Cassie reads, I haven't talked to you at all. You don't even try. You rushed me off the phone. I'm really hurt. I don't need your money. I need some attention. Defense says, you wanted your special time with Mr. Combs. Cassie says, yes. Defense says, you testified that you told him, I love you so much. You make me a better woman. Cassie says, I definitely wrote those messages. Defense says, you wrote, I can't wait until we have a baby of our own. You knew that he had 6 children at the time. Cassie says, yes. Defense says, so now these messages about freak off, when you say, you know, it doesn't matter to me, you mean weekend or weekday, either is fine. She says, that's what it says. So let me read that again. You wrote, I can't wait until we have a baby of our own. You knew that he had 6 children at the time. So you want to be the next. You want to be next in line, is what she's saying. So these messages about freak off, when you say, you know, it doesn't matter to me, you mean weekend or weekday, either is fine. She says, that's what it says. Defense says, Mr. Combs says, maybe we can call Jules. Can you do it? Yes. Defense says, this was an explicit message from you about the anticipated upcoming freak off. Oh, shit. Prosecutor says, objection. Objection. Judge says, we'll take a recess. Okay, so they took a little break. Morning was a little spicy. Then they came back. Oh, they just came back not too long ago. Didn't miss much anyway. All right, so they came back. They said they're back. The judge says, Miss Estavo, you may proceed. Combs's defense says, Miss Ventura, this is from Mr. Combs to you. You respond with an extremely explicit message, right? She says, yes. Defense says, this is 2 days after planning of a freak off, right? Yes. Okay. So this is Cassie. This is from Mr. Combs to you. You respond with an extremely explicit message. She says, yes. This is 2 days after planning the freak off. Defense says, he said, I want to see. How did you reply? Cassie says, I can't wait either. Defense says, you wrote, I feel like I want to fuck, right? Cassie says, that's what it says. Defense says, Mr. Combs says, I'm so horny. I can't concentrate. What do you say? Cassie says that I'll go to Dwayne Reed for candles and set up the room. Combs says, the defense says, did you understand that he was going to take another video of you? Objection, speculation. Judge says, Mr. Stavo, you can move on. Defense says, you ask any pills on you? Yes. Defense says, what pills were you taking then? Cassie says, opiates. Defense says, you deleted videos on your devices, right? Cassie says, yes. What did you write? Cassie says that I need to feel this is my husband, the only one who will see this side of me. Defense says, were you afraid that Mr. Combs was only seeing you for sex in this way? She said that was a concern. Defense says, you were still not public in your relationship with him. Cassie says, correct. Were the freak-offs important? Cassie says they were integral to us. Defense says, who was at your 21st birthday party in Las Vegas? Britney Spears. Oh, shit. Cassie said Britney Spears, Dallas, Austin. No wonder Britney crazy and twirling and all kinds of stuff. Okay. Defense says, how did you get them there? Cassie says, they came from Sean. Defense says, you're very beautiful and charming. Thank you, says Cassie. It's true, says defense. Defense says, who is Tommy Mulata? Cassie says, a well-known producer. Defense says, you were an up-and-coming star. Cassie says, I guess you could say that. After you signed with Bad Boy, things were still platonic. Yes. You had a rough performance. Cassie says, 106 in Park, it did not go well for me. Wow. I forgot about that show, 106 in Park. I wonder if that's around. It's like a hip-hop show, I think, in New York. Defense says, how did it help you after that? Cassie says, we did a YouTube video. He said, everybody makes mistakes. Defense says, what was wrong? Cassie says, I couldn't hear myself. Defense says, you were dating Mr. Leslie. How much older was he than you? 10 years. Okay. Then you traveled to Miami with Mr. Combs. The flyer of the event was just a cover to spend time with Mr. Combs, right? Cassie said, that's true. You had a tattoo of Mr. Leslie's initials on your body, right? Cassie says, yes. Oh, damn. Defense says, how many tattoos did you have then? Objection, relevance. Judge says, overruled, but let's keep it moving. Cassie says, 3. The one on your arm? No regrets, Cassie said. Defense says, Mr. Combs taught you how to do oral sex. Cassie says, yes. Defense says, look at this. Tell me when you're ready. Can you read it? Cassie says, you can read it. It's making me laugh. It's from 2007. Defense says, you wrote, I feel protected. You are sweet. Ah. Oh, we're caught up already? That was it? What? 16 minutes? We're caught up with the whole day? Okay. Oh, shit. Oh. Tommy was a psycho? What? Okay. We're actually caught up already. What? Okay, that's a picture from this morning, I guess, of Cassie leaving her apartment. And you like it? Thanks. Just let everybody know. Live. Okay, let's get the... All right, perfect. So that was this morning, her leaving to come to the trial. And let's see, she was wearing a blazer, a light blue button-down shirt, her hair black, hair slicked, and a ponytail. She's 8 months pregnant with her 3rd child. Wow. So this morning when Anna Estavo was talking to Cassie, it says, you and Sean were in love for 11 years, right? That was like the first thing right off the rip. Cassie said, yes. You kept coming back to him for 11 years. And she said, I wouldn't use the word coming back. I think that's what it is, kind of coming back. But you would continue to go back to him for 11 years. She replied, yes. And then the jury sees loving messages between Diddy and Cassie. So this is what the defense is going to do. They're going to try to show like this loving picture, this loving side, that it wasn't this crazy, horrible, situation. I mean, it was toxic. It was crazy. I don't know, but I guess they're going to try to say it was consensual. Messages like, it makes you so happy that you would fly to ATL just to see me. I'm so lucky to have you. Oh, I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much. Cassie responded. What sort of message would you, Mr. Combs, exchange back then? Combs' lawyers asked, and she said loving. Back then it was loving messages. Okay. So these loving, affectionate messages they exchanged from 2008, 2009, and 2010. Estavo was reading messages from Combs to Cassie while Cassie's reading communications. And we learned that BG, standing for baby girl, is an acronym that they use. And the thing that I thought it was a little sick, that whole thing where they, what do you guys think the whole pop thing? Because Diddy, I guess it's a control thing. Diddy, he was like, what do you call your grandfather? I think he passed away. What do you call your grandfather? She said, Pop. And so he's like, now you're going to call me Pop. I don't know if that's sick or what. Pop. And, or unless that was their type of play. Maybe they like that kind of play, because, if we really didn't want to call him that. Mama came to courthouse today. Diddy's mother, Diddy's mom is in support. The kids are in support. The friends are in support. Supposedly, Diddy's daughters weren't there yesterday. That's what I had heard. Diddy's daughters yesterday. Combs' mother and children were in attendance today. His mother, Janice, she's 84 years old, and today she came in green and black, wearing a green and black outfit. Let me show you that picture. Mama coming in style, casual, or I don't know what you would call that. I guess I don't know if that's casual or professional. I want to say professional, but like a maybe formal. Let's show Mama here. That's Mama. Mama today came into the courtroom. All right. So Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, they said he looked stoically, as she describes falling in love with Diddy. So the husband there, Alex Fine, he's watching everything, all the details about what happened to his wife, the R-ing, and all those horrible situations. And even at the beginning of their relationship, I think when they were together, Cassie said like Diddy had R'd her, had raped her or something, or they started getting to know each other. This guy raped her, but then she said they still had consensual sex after. So it was weird. That was weird yesterday. I'm always ready to freak off. Cassie, shockingly explicit texts come out in court showing her excited for sex with Diddy. So they put in quotes here. I'm always ready to freak off with Diddy for the freak offs. Damn. The jury was shown a series of messages sent to Sean saying that she was excited for the freak offs. I'm always ready to freak off, Ventura wrote in a BlackBerry message. Damn, BlackBerry. It's a long time ago. BlackBerry. August 5th, 2009, roughly 2 years into the relationship, when she was in her early 20s and he was in his late 40s, the duo decided they would hold one of the marathon sex sessions on Friday night that week. Jurors also heard more explicit messages where Ventura seemed to express her excitement to partake in the twisted freak-offs. Okay. Let me check out this other article too. I'd like to see what they had to say. This morning they were arguing too. The prosecutors were arguing that the messages can be shown to Ventura to jog her memory, but they don't want the text put into evidence for the jury to view. And Combs' defense has been quite adamant that they want the jury to see the messages because they speak to the jealousy and infidelity, they say, at the heart of the case. So they're kind of having this back and forth this morning too. What comes in, what doesn't come in. And prosecution said that the defense dropped, 400 exhibits last night. And the defense said, I think that they were up till 3 a.m. The other thing that's come up today is that the defense and prosecution lawyers were arguing over this whole, I guess there's something called rape shield law. I never even heard of this. A rule that dictates which evidence concerning an alleged victim's sexual behavior, in this case Cassie, can be admitted when the court is considering sexual misconduct in the case. Sean Combs. The defense argues that text messages it wants to share about whether Ventura slept.
Watching this Diddy trial, I think it emphasizes how important.
Sorry about that. So the defense argues that the text messages it wants to share about whether Ventura slept with people other than Combs are important to show the defendant's state of mind. While the lawyers' debate has focused on one set of messages, the defense wants to introduce similar conversations throughout the cross-examination. So there's a lot of back and forth about what can come in, what cannot, and can you show it to the jury, can you not? Woo. Let's see here. Let's see.
For the pig face S new toys.
Oh my god.
Thanks for covering this, Mel.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the 10. Ashley, gracias. Defense attorney Ana Estavo has begun her cross-examination. This was early. We covered that. She began questioning by focusing the love, passion, and care that Cassie said Combs and Cassie shared. To you, he was Sean. We talked about that. You knew the real Sean that other people didn't see. Estavo then brought up something Ventura mentioned in previous testimony, that she would occasionally get jealous, insanely jealous, in her relationship with Combs. He gave you a lot to be jealous about, Estavo said. Wait, let me read that again. He gave you a lot to be jealous of. Oh, okay. He gave you a lot to be jealous of, Estavo said. Okay. So they were showing also emails, Cassie Ventura emails, in which she and Sean Combs express an affection for each other. Combs told her that it makes me so happy that you would fly out to ATL to see me, with an exclamation point or a number of them, and called himself a truly lucky man. Combs wrote, I love you, miss you, can't wait to hold you. Cassie responded, I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much, and I'd fly wherever to see you. Combs' team argued that despite the violence that occurred in their relationship, Ventura deeply loved Combs and willingly had sex in freak-offs parties to please him. Which she kind of said herself, it was to please him too. She said that when she was being, when the prosecution was questioning her. Cassie Ventura testified that Sean Combs, sometimes unavailable in their relationship, especially when he was traveling in April 2010, an April 2010 email expressing her hurt over the fact was shown to the court. I haven't talked to you at all. I know you can take 3 minutes out of your day to talk to me. You don't even try, Cassie wrote, adding to another point, you're too much of a rush. You're in too much of a rush to get off the phone. You don't got time. They don't got time to be on the phone. Defense attorney Anna has so far focused a lot of her cross-examination on the text and email messages that Cassie and Sean exchanged early in their relationship around 2009 and 2010. These messages are shown on a closed-circuit video feed in the courtroom and on the computers at the defense table in front of Combs, who has been leaning in and intently reading them, much like Cassie is on the witness stand. Afterward, Combs typically leans back in his chair and whispers to his lead counsel, Mark Agnifalo's ear. All right, bad boy. All right, we got that. We got that. All right, let's catch up a little bit here on these live tweets. So we left off at where it says here that Combs, the defense asked, Mr. Combs taught you how to do oral sex. She says, I did, or he did. Defense says, look at this. Tell me when you're ready. Can you read it? Cassie says, you can read it. It's making me laugh. It's from 2007. Defense says, you wrote, I feel protected. You are sweet. It continues. Defense says, you wrote, I see that Carrie is better fitting for you. I'm hurt that you think I'm malicious. You're very important to me, Cass. Cassie laughs in the courtroom. Defense says, what were you trying to convey? Cassie says it's like a journal entry. Defense says, you discussed Carrie Morgan. Did you think Mr. Combs was attracted to her? Cassie says, there was a point in the very beginning. Did that complication carry on in your relationship? Cassie says, not really. Carrie was always with us. She was always with us. Let's see here real quick. By the way, let's see here. Carrie Morgan apparently is Cassie's former best friend. Carrie Morgan.
She says she would fly anywhere to be with him. What is this going to do for the sex trafficking charge?
Oh!
She clearly says it.
Oh, damn. I didn't even put that in my mind, but I see it's a really good thing you pointed out there. What they're trying to point out, because it's being claimed sex trafficking. Carey Morgan is mentioned in the Cassie's 2023 civil lawsuit. According to this lawsuit, Diddy threw a wooden hanger at Morgan once, which resulted in a concussion. Cassie alleged that Diddy paid Morgan 50,000 euros to keep quiet about the incident. The alleged assault was reportedly a key factor in the end of Cassie and Morgan's friendship. Morgan is also mentioned in Cassie's lawsuit, where she spoke about a trip to Miami with Morgan, Diddy, Dallas Austin, a music producer. She recounts that Diddy gave her, the Blue Dolphin ecstasy on a boat. We talked about that previously. Morgan has not testified in Diddy's trial. Okay, so that's what Morgan is. Morgan, a major player in the Diddy trial, who's a former close friend of Cassie's. She was named in court on May 13. She was mentioned again today, after the model was mentioned in the 2023 civil lawsuit involving Combs. All right. So she's like former close friend of Cassie. Okay. So did you discuss Carey? Did you think Mr. Combs was attracted to her? Cassie says, I thought in the beginning that add complication to your relationship. She says, no, Carey was just always with us. Defense says, I'd like to start asking about the freak-offs. Sometimes you wore a wig and a mask. Cassie says, yes. The general public did not know. Objection! Judge says, rephrase. Defense says, no one knew until November 2023 in the public. Cassie says, yes. Defense says, fair to say his career was ruined after your lawsuit? Cassie says, I could understand that. Let's read these messages. Mr. Combs wrote, when are you on your period? Cassie says, no now. Defense says, in quotes, what you be thinking about when you horny? Defense says, Miss Ventura, if you don't want to read the answers, I can read them. Cassie says, thank you. So I guess she doesn't want to read them. Okay. Defense says, the O has lots of oohs after them, right? O's. Right? Cassie says, yes. After a freak off, you'd make love with Mr. Combs. She says, yes. Okay. That's crazy too. Yeah, because somebody said, I just know that her husband is uncomfortable as F. This has got to be, even though I'm sure he knows about this stuff, I don't know if he knew every single intricate detail of every text message. And over here, we're hearing the oohs and the ahs and the poop and the pee and the UTIs and pee swallowing and all that kind of stuff. The Punisher, Midnight said, oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's crazy. Crazy. So after the freak offs, because she said she was disgusted, she didn't like it, all the stuff, she felt humiliated. They're saying that they would make love after. Defense says, your period, Mr. Combs is asking you when you're on it, right? Cassie says, yep. Prosecution says he's asking in the context of when to meet up and have sex. She says, looks like it. Defense says, sometimes you watch him with a female. She said 2 or 3 times. Damn. Somebody replied on there saying, if this is love, I don't want it. Oh, man. Wow. And keep in mind, she's 8 months something and change pregnant. Oh, that was wild. All right. Mr. Combs was sweet and attentive in the beginning. I'm just recapping a little bit while we wait for some updates. Was Cassie a willing participant of the freak-offs? Ventura testified that she wanted to please Combs at the start of their relationship, so she agreed to take part in his freak-offs, drug-fueled intercourse, often with sex workers as the rapper watched. Yes, I wanted to make him happy. But when the defense asked again if she wanted to make him happy by participating in the freak-off, she clarified no, it was a lot more than that. And even though Combs had 6 children at the time, Cassie admitted in the emails of the time that she wanted to have a child with him. Okay. The defense is asking Cassie about her initial success in the music and modeling industry, in which what appears to be an effort to paint her as being independently rich and famous and not under Combs' control. Cassie was asked to confirm that she was becoming a wealthy celebrity with a thriving music and modeling career of her own before she began dating Combs, her then boss. She acknowledged that she was doing well during the time. His attorney asked her, "Were you an up-and-coming star?" She said, "I guess you could say that." Let's check. We got some updates here now. Did you watch him with a female 2 or 3 times? She said, she said yes, 2 or 3 times. Defense says, did you talk with Mr. Combs about the swingers lifestyle? Cassie says, that no one talks about. I don't know if he's typing this wrong. Defense says, were you keeping freak-offs secret from your friends? Cassie says, yes. His assistants help him? She says, with everything. Freak-offs. So, so they're bringing up emails. Cassie giggles as Diddy's lawyer brings up loving 2007 email. Cassie smiled as Sean Diddy Combs' lawyers brought up the email she wrote to her then boyfriend just a few weeks after her 21st birthday. It's making me giggle because it's from 2007, she told the court. Okay. Cassie said she wore masks and wigs for freak-offs to disguise herself. I definitely didn't want anybody to know. Oh, okay, Diddy. Diddy brought Britney Spears to Cassie's 21st birthday celebration where he first kissed her. I kissed a girl and I liked the taste of her cherry chocolate. It felt so wrong, it felt so right. They simmer into whose side. I kissed a girl, but I liked it. She has the little cherry chopsticks. All right. So here's some pictures. Britney, Diddy, got Paris Hilton. Who's this guy? Oh, that's Dallas Austin. Okay, that's Dallas Austin. All right. And here's this Cassie here. Okay. This party was hosted by 50 Cent, not pictured. Okay. There's Dallas, Britney. This one, Britney was still together. Her head was still, before she went AWOL. Britney's just been twirling now for like 2 decades, just the same Instagram post, spinning in circles. I hope that I don't know. Hopefully someday she gets a little bit of help for whatever's going on. They're just probably traumatized. It seems like some of these celebrity people, the stuff that they go through, and access to money and wealth, and getting with the wrong people and being blackmailed and all kinds of stuff. Defense presses Cassie on ruining Diddy's career with bombshell lawsuit. Cassie admitted that she didn't know of anyone being aware of Sean Diddy Combs' freak-offs until her 2023 lawsuit revealed them to the world. Okay. She didn't know of anyone being aware. So nobody really knew. I feel like the Diddy stuff, and maybe you guys in the chat can tell me. They're saying that nobody knew about the freak-offs until Cassie's lawsuit. I feel like it's always been rumored. And the lawsuit kind of confirmed it. And I saw some other reporters saying that, like, it's really the feds came down on Diddy because of Cassie's lawsuit. Like, they were like, oh shit, it's because of her lawsuit. She's the star witness. Her and Jane, I think. But she's the main one. All right, let's get some live tweet updates. The live tweet updates are on the right-hand side, and I will read them to you. But if you just like looking at the screen and you like seeing them pop up, they're there as well. So we left off with the whole Cassie saying she watched 2 or 3 times Diddy with females. Did Mr. Combs talk to you about the swingers lifestyle? She said that no one talks about. Were you keeping freak off secret? She says yes. Were his assistants helping? Cassie says with everything. Defense says you would remember if an assistant came in during one of your sessions with an escort. She said not necessarily. I was high. Cassie's the defense. So the defense says so you don't remember much. Cassie says I had my privacy invaded a lot during that relationship. Yeah. Space caught on Twitter too. She said, defense, I got your moment. Even if she didn't remember much, there's video and pictures evidence of her injuries. That's true though. I don't know what the still images of the freak-offs are, but they're trying to get her in a thing of like, you remember all these details, but then when we're questioning you about this, were they people coming in on you, walking in, assistants, you don't remember. But, to be fair, she did say she was high a lot of the times, drugs, partying, ketamine. They're trying to catch her up right there. Sure, the assistants and security watched that one time or another, or all times. Cassie has been well prepared. They keep trying to catch her or trip her up, and she's not going for it. Also to the point you really can't even consent when you're in that kind of state. Convinced his lawyers want him to lose. I don't know. I think they're going to be crossing her for a while. This is just the very, very, very beginning. So I started at 11 o'clock today. Normally I start really early, like 8 something in the morning or whatever. I had to start at 11 today, and I'm thinking we're going to be here for a while catching up. It took 15 minutes. I was like, bro, I've been sitting here for hours in the morning and we could do this in 15 minutes? So, very interesting so far. I think they have to be really careful how they try to poke holes. That's their job. They're going to try to poke holes. They're going to try to make inconsistencies, point out inconsistencies, try to show that she was in love with him, that it wasn't forceful, she could leave at any time. They're going to try to do all that. Sean Diddy's pleaded not guilty to 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and 2 counts, fraud or coercion too is in there, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. All this, well, it's interesting. All this stuff too is a lot of these top people, executives, they're doing themselves. They're trafficking right now. Some of these lawyers probably traffic. They got escorts flying in and out and shit. Right now, they're focused on the trial, but once this shit's over, they're probably flying some bitches out, right? They're trafficking themselves. I'm being sarcastic, but honestly, wouldn't surprise me if they were. Would not surprise me. All right. Defense lawyer Anna is now returning to the freak-off sex sessions that the trial was told about. In her testimony, Cassie has told the court that she would wear wigs and masks, and Mrs. Stavo asked her about this now if she wanted to be discreet. She said the encounter itself was pretty crazy. I did not want anybody to know. Crazy encounters. Cassie was asked about the first kiss. So the first kiss with Combs was on her 21st birthday at this party. Diddy was 37 at the time of their first kiss. Mrs. Stavo asked about her first self-titled album, which was released in 2006. She says it did well and agrees that in 2007 she was a celebrity in her own right. She had been in the industry for about 3 years by this point, she says, and was doing well financially. Asked if she was an up-and-coming star, she replies, I guess you could say that. Okay, this was earlier. And one of the messages, Miss Ventura told Combs she just deleted our little video off her camera, calling it dope. She has previously alleged in court that the rapper used videos of her sexual encounters with males escorts to blackmail her. Jurors now hear about an email sent in 2009. Miss Ventura seems to be expressing conflicting feelings about taking part in the freak-off sessions. In the email, she told Combs she needed to trust him. Beyond, in quotes, beyond it just being sexual, quote. In order to be more open sexually, I just need to feel safe, like home. She told him the last time was a mistake, but since has made me feel a little dirty and grimy as opposed to sexual and spontaneous. This was the reason she was going back and forth in her mind with wanting and not wanting to do it, she wrote. At first, when they were so in love, there were no questions asked. It felt right. She told him, I get nervous that I'm just becoming the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off with. Oh, so she wanted more. At first, in the beginning, I mean, she was with him for 10, 11 years. She wanted more. Diddy, I don't know. Diddy seems like he's one of those open relationship types. You know, obviously, we're just having fun, sleeping. She's sleeping around with everybody. But more than that, I don't know if he really... It's like she was his fun toy. Back to the live tweets that are trickling in bit by bit. The defense says, this is from July 2012. You say to Mr. Combs, I'm horny and bored. This was after freak off, right? Oh, shit. Oh. Cassie says, there are a lot of texts here. Said to be 25 pages. Where will the defense exhibits ostensibly entered into evidence be available? Prosecution says, I would ask that the witness be allowed to read the entire document. Judge says, how many pages? Defense says 8. Prosecution says, we don't have a copy for the witness. Defense says, we'll show it on the screen, but not in the public gallery. Okay, so they got some messages. They got some messages they want to put up on the screen. They're going to try to show that she was a willing participant, that she liked it at times, I guess, and that she, after the freak off, she wanted more. according to the defense in these text messages. Okay, the marathons, the sex marathons. Wow. Cassie Ventura's relationship with Ryan Leslie was somewhat serious, she conceded. She even had a tattoo of his initials. We just talked about that. She also testified that when she took a romantic trip to Miami with Sean Combs, she lied to Leslie to believe she was going there for an event. A fake promotion flyer was even created for the ruse. Oh, I didn't get that. You see, sometimes the live tweets are good, but then you got to read around and read multiple things, and you get a little bit more context and bits and pieces. Oh, they even had a fake flyer for the event. I mean, they mentioned the flyer, but I didn't catch it all until I read this paragraph here. She also testified. So she's with the guy, Ryan Leslie, which was somewhat serious, but she was swinging too, I guess. Or just meeting up with Combs. So they made a whole fake flyer. She took a romantic trip to Miami with Diddy. She led Leslie to believe she was going there for an event. A fake promotion flyer was created for the ruse. Although Ventura said she didn't make it. Combs is 17 years older than Ventura, and Leslie is about a decade older than her. Defense lawyers may be trying to show that even in her late teens, Ventura was relatively mature and possibly seeking out influential older men as she started her singing career. Okay, I see what they're trying to point out. They're trying to say she was clout chasing into maybe older men or people with money, people that are established, settled in life. Okay. When Cassie was beginning to date Sean Combs as a young R&B artist in the 2000s, she was also in a relationship with this guy. He's a producer, Ryan Leslie, who, like Combs, was significantly older than her. And in 2007, a 2007 email being shown to the court, Ventura described herself as sneaky. Oh shit, for cheating on Leslie with Combs. The defense may be trying to show that Ventura was not sexually inexperienced. Oh.
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit. No, I like that.
Oh. Okay. Because she was part of the, I don't know, I guess this was a part of the focus in the trial. At some point, it had come up a couple of times. At 20-something years old, she was young 20s, right? 21, 22. It was her first time. She didn't know, or I don't know if she said it was her first time. She said Combs taught her about oral. But she was in this somewhat serious relationship with an older man. Some guys aren't into that, though. Some guys, or even some women, it's something rare in society, but there's people that aren't. But I don't know if it's rare in society. There's some people that are just not into that. So she's claiming she didn't know about that or learned. So it's almost like Combs was teaching her all the stuff that she needed to know, I guess. So with this guy, Leslie, they're trying to show that she was not sexually inexperienced when she started dating Combs. In fact, she was cheating, contrary to some of her previous testimony, as well as the prosecutor's suggestion that Combs groomed her sexually from the time she was 19. Okay. So they're trying to bring in all these other players into the situation. Very interesting. Eight months pregnant. The defense confronted Cassie with a message she sent to Sean about particularly enjoying the portion of a freak off where she had sex with a male escort. Quote, I liked those times, unquote. Ventura wrote, quote, I love when we make love after. The last time was so good. Messages like these could support the defense argument that Ventura consented to the sexual activities with Combs, including freak-offs, group sessions, that prosecutors contend she was coerced. The defense also might suggest to the jury that Ventura changed her attitude about the freak-offs when she saw an opportunity for a payday. Ventura testified that Combs paid her $20 million, that was yesterday, to drop the sexual assault lawsuit she filed in 2023. The defense concedes that Combs physically abused Cassie on multiple occasions, because they almost don't even have a choice after that video came out, but argue that he has not been charged with domestic violence or violent relationship is not in evidence for the government's sex trafficking charges. Okay. All right, let's touch on some of the live tweet updates. It's so interesting to read the other bits and pieces that other reporters are posting. And so we left off at the whole thing where from 2012, July, you say to Mr. Combs, I'm horny and bored after the freak off. There's 25 pages. Prosecution wanted Cassie to be able to read the whole document. How many pages? 8 pages. We don't have a copy for the witness, and so they're going to put it on the screen. Oh, they haven't updated it yet. Okay, I thought there was going to be something else right now. What did he tweet out? Okay. All right, so we're caught up. All right, we're chilling. Let's take a look here too. How you guys doing? What do you think about today so far? I kind of like that we were able to come in a little bit later and just kind of boom, 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 you know what I'm saying, without dragging throughout the day. Because sometimes they start a little bit later at 9 and then they take a couple of breaks and they're going back and forth and stuff. And so, all right. Let me try to get Facebook up again. I don't know if it's possible. Let's see if it's working. What a day. What a day. So Combs would call her nice stuff, compliment her, you're a queen. And he would call her incessantly. And they said, well, was that when he thought you were cheating? And she said, that's one of the reasons. Objection. And then, does Mr. Combs have good taste? And she said, I think he does. They talk about his Sean John clothing. I was never a fan of Sean John clothing, but I know it's very popular, obviously. It just wasn't my thing. I don't really wear things with huge labels plastered on my shirt or whatever, but they, get a little small thing. They have that too. But anyway, did you consult with him on your look? Sometimes I got advice I didn't ask for. And defense says he still ran his companies even while having all these freak-offs, right? Cassie says he did. What was he addicted to? She laughed and said success. That's a good addiction to have, I guess, right? But maybe that wasn't what the defense was talking about, because they said, what substances? Opiates? And she said, yes, he told me and I saw it. Defense says, did Mr. Combs' mood depend on whether or not he was withdrawing from opiates? Okay, we're going to okay. Cassie says he was more irritable, I would say. Defense says, what other drugs was Mr. Combs addicted to? Objection, no foundation. Judge says, I'll ask if what grounds. Okay. So they're getting into the addiction, and was he moody on drugs, and was he unstable or upset because you were cheating? And let's see what other context we can pick up. The swinger lifestyle. That's what you get when you're rich and famous, when you have accessibility to all the money and resources in the world, when there's nothing left but drugs and sex to feel something else, because everything else has been acquired. You've felt everything else. Everything else is boring, so you need to have something else to pique your interest. This testimony we talked about said Cassie sometimes watched Diddy have sex with other women. Over here it says 2 to 4 times. I think the tweet said 2 to 3 times, but over here it says 2 to 4 times. She said it happened, but not often, Cassie said, noting that Combs had brought up her watching him with other women frequently enough. Defense seems to be suggesting that the freak-offs were simply part of Combs' swinger lifestyle. But Cassie responded that while a swinger's lifestyle is related to freak-offs in a sexual way, the two concepts were actually very different. On Wednesday, Cassie said the Bad Boy Records founder convinced her it would be fun to go to sex clubs. Okay. Breakfast with sex. Maybe they had, freak-off sex. Breakfast sex. What a dilemma for reporters covering this trial. Quite a few of the messages being discussed in court. Quite a few of the messages being discussed in court are so sexually explicit that they couldn't possibly be repeated in a family newspaper. This has led to a lot of conferring in the press room about how and what to relay from these messages. One can't help but think of the prospective juror from last week who had said she had fainted as a teen when oral sex was discussed. What? Hold on. One can't help but think of the prospective juror from last week who said she fainted as a teen when oral sex was discussed in sex education. Wow. This cross-examination would have literally floored her. The defense is questioning about, well, okay, he's having all these freak-offs high out of his mind, and he's running all these companies. And she said, yeah, he did. Was he addicted to? She says success. And what about opiates? She said, yes, he was, and I saw it. He told me, and I saw it. What about his mood? Was he irritable when he was withdrawing from the opiates? And Cassie said, I would say so. Yes. What other drugs? And there was an objection when the defense asked that from the prosecution, and the judge says, I will ask if I want what the grounds. Judge says sustain, rephrase. Then defense says, what was his drug of choice? Ecstasy or MDMA, Cassie said. Okay, got that X, that Molly. Defense says opiates daily. Cassie says when he was doing them. You saw him withdraw? Cassie says yes. Damn. Somebody says she laughing like she at a bar with this attorney having drinks. They got her right where they want her. Ain't nothing funny when you was a victimized for 10 years, sis. Oh, shit. She's laughing at the shabby lawyer, somebody said. I mean, Elon got how many kids? 20 kids? 25 kids or some shit? A different woman, 10 women, 15 women? Elon got a gang of kids and running his business, multiple businesses, and Doge and all kinds of stuff.
We showed, but it didn't. Cassie said, I'm thinking about, can I say this without getting demonetized? Let me try to walk around this. She said, I'm thinking about licking those D's from the balls to the TI and feeling it touch the back of my throat. This is what she was telling Diddy when she was emailing him about fantasizing about the freak off, all right? I have more texts. They are crazy, but then I'll also give you the positions, right? Don't shadow ban me on YouTube said, hey, Tisa, thanks for...
Hold on, what she said?
As well. Cassie testified.
Bro, we need to meet you. Hold on.
Didn't. Cassie said, I'm thinking about, can I say this without getting demonetized? Let me try to walk around this. She said, I'm thinking about licking those D's from the balls to the TI, and feeling it touch the back of my throat. This is what she was telling Diddy when she was emailing him about fantasizing about the freak offs, all right? I have more texts. They are crazy, but then I'll also give you the positions, right? Don't shadow ban me on YouTube. Said, hey, Tisa, thanks for the cover. You go, girl. You're welcome. And actually, listen, who is that saying lies? Somebody said, why is Cassie laughing on the stand? Cassie, see, this is what I mean about, like, sometimes I believe that might be misinformation. Cassie was not laughing on the stand. When she first took the stand, she walked in, she was fitted, she was dressed in a power move. It looked like she had on some type of like Dior suit. I don't know. It was a Dior suit, a blue button up to the top, a button up to the top. She had on, the little pants skirt thing, right? She looked really, really good. She wasn't laughing on stand. When she came in, the prosecutor made like a joke or said something silly. This is before things had gotten heavy. This is before the prosecution, and Cassie was coming in with Alex, with her brother, and it was the very thing, okay? I know some people, when they think you just come in and you glaring at the defense attorney, but the judge made like a light joke. Cassie politely laughed. So for people saying that Cassie is laughing on the stand, that's a gross exaggeration. Again, she wasn't laughing on the stand. The prosecutor said, the defense attorney said, you're very beautiful, very charming. And this is before they started getting the questions. She was like, well, thank you. And then the whole courtroom laughed, and Cassie just politely, again. But Cassie was not laughing on the stand. That
was interesting, though, some of those messages, because the reporter said they're kind of withholding some of, there's the family coming out. Lunch break, family coming out. See if we see more. Looks like the son's there. Family coming out. Let's just read off the last couple of live tweets. So we left off at, because they just took a lunch. So they were asking him about the drugs and what other drugs was Coleman addicted to. Objection, no foundation. They wanted them to rephrase. His drug of choice was MDMA. And, that was it. They took a break. When was he doing them? Did he take opiates daily? Cassie said when he was doing them. Estavo says, you saw him withdraw? Cassie says yes. And then they took a lunch break. They speak a little bit after they leave, and judge says, Mrs. Estavo, where are we in your cross? Estavo says, we have a lot of exhibits. Let me confer over lunch. Judge says non-responsive. Will you finish today or early tomorrow? She says the end of tomorrow. We might not be able to finish tomorrow. This is the most important witness. Judge says for months we said this witness had to be off the stand by the end of the week. Our direct was a day and a half. Limit them to that. That's what the prosecution said. Damn, so they're trying to get her off. They're trying to, we don't want to have her be there too long. So the prosecution is saying they should be limited to a day and a half. Limit them to that. Judge says, show Miss Ventura the exhibits in advance. Maybe just ask her question rather than these exhibits. We have a timing concern. Agnifilo says they called 2 witnesses to start. This wasn't our choice. It's a critically important witness. Just to streamline things. I think for them to only have, it's only been half a day. Barely half a day. They're supposed to start at 9. They're starting like at 10 o'clock. They started at 10 yesterday. They started at 10 today. I think for barely the time that they've gotten, they shouldn't be being rushed already. Like they just started. Are you done yet? When are you being done with these people? They just started. What? Joe, we're on a time thing. Whatever. This is the most important witness. How are they going to rush this? I don't understand that. It's important. They're gonna have to take their time. This is the biggest witness. This is the biggest, they have to do this. They have to break down. I don't know if eviscerate is the right word. They have to eviscerate. I don't want to say they have to eviscerate the pregnant woman, but They have to eviscerate the story. They have to break it down layer by layer, peel the onion to try to get their point across. We barely, bro. I understand. Yeah, you're right. Probably because she's pregnant. I understand that too. But you can't take your time with her for a day and a half and then a quarter of the day, not even in. All right, are we done? How much longer? Are you done today? We barely got started. You cannot just let this woman just skid off. It's a big part of the thing. So defense is saying tomorrow, the whole day tomorrow. Wait, what's what they said? Tomorrow? Will you finish today or early tomorrow? She said to the end of tomorrow. All right, that's the... Oh, and then she said we might not be able to finish tomorrow. Shit, we take it on to next week. Take some breaks. You gotta if you're going to court, you have to have your time. You can't force it. Oh, you gotta hurry up. Be quick and streamline the other witnesses. This is the biggest witness for the trial for both sides. You can't just be, oh, hurry up. You know? The judge wasn't saying that before. Well, he did ask them at prosecution, like, oh, when do you think you'll be done? And the prosecution said, what they said, like, they'll have, with an hour left of the day. I don't know, bro. Bruskies. All right. So we're going to come back after the lunch break. I have another stream set up. So I think the way we're going to be doing this is in 2 parts. All right. So we'll come back after the lunch. And honestly, this morning we caught up so quick in 16 minutes. The only reason the stream almost ended up 2 hours is because we're just waiting for the information to trickle in piece by piece, little bit by bit that we keep getting. I started at 11 this morning, and in 16 minutes, we caught up the whole morning like that. 16 minutes. I'm like, what? Terry, thank you. Oh, facts don't have feelings. What an appropriate name. Said, thus far, nothing has been said that would convict him of his charges. Diddy pissed off somebody. He's paying for it. Case will go sideways. He gets off. Too many on both sides are at risk. You might have to take some more breaks. Accommodate the lady. Let her have some snacks, some water. I don't know. Every hour, take a break, a 5-minute break or something, not an hour break, but a 5-10 minute break to do the testimony. I actually set the new stream for 4:00 because there might be some other stories I want to cover. We'll see how the flow goes, but I set the next stream for 4:00. And I'm sure we'll come back and there'll be like 2 things of information to cover and we'll be caught up again. I wish it was live. And then there's another story, at least one other story that I want to cover later. But I definitely want to follow this story. It's really interesting. The more I cover it daily, the more invested I'm in the story. So yeah, make sure you check out the playlist, subscribe, sign up with the email list so you don't miss any notifications. All right, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye. Bloop, 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 bloop.